Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast. We are the Gaming Stooges.
I'm Jack.
You can call me Cloud.
And I'm Landon.
We hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and if you do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitch, or joining our Discord. Let's get on with the show.
We're back again, folks. We're just going to jump right in because we ended up a little late for this one. But last episode, we did console launches, and we did all of the major home consoles, starting with the newest ones and working our way back. And this time, we're going to do the handhelds. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with the most recent, work our way back. Are you guys ready? We're going to talk about some more console launches. Their launch prices, the release dates, their launch titles, the circumstances of their launch, when it's important enough to talk about. And let's just jump right in. First one we're going to talk about, as we said in the first part, we relegated the hybrid devices of the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 to this podcast. So it's the Nintendo Switch 2. It literally just came out a couple months ago as of recording time on June 5th, 2025, with a launch price of $449 for the base model, but also had a prominent bundle with Mario Kart World for $499. As always, everything that we talk about as far as release dates and pricing goes is North American, United States. That is what we're doing. That is where we live, so that's how we're doing this. So the launch titles. There was two sets of launch titles. There's the major there's the actual Switch 2 launch titles, which consist of about like 25 or so games. It's kind of weird though, because a lot of other systems that have these launch titles, most of them are like physical releases, and then there's like some digital stuff here and there. Switch 2 has the infamous issue of having like basically four different types of releases, where you've got actual physical cards, you've got digital titles, you've got new game key cards, which are like a physical cartridge but it's a digital game, and then they're still somehow managing to do code in a box from the Switch 1 generation. We'll get to that later, although we won't have to talk about it too much there, but it is still a thing here, and there are literal launch titles that go with that model. And then there's even one title on here that does both somehow at the same time. So that is the unfortunate side effect. But also there was a set of 3 games that came out on the Nintendo Switch Online, because they launched the GameCube app for that. So you had 3 titles there. I'll just rattle them off. You had Wind Waker, Zelda Wind Waker. You had Soul Calibur 2 and F-Zero GX. So you had almost 30 titles to play at launch. We already talked about our impressions as far as like our launch experience goes, but is there anything based on this podcast, like how you want to talk about like how just the launch lineup, launch prices, and stuff like that is concerned?
I genuinely keep forgetting how big the launch lineup is for the Switch 2, because so many of these are either digital only or game key cards in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm just like, yeah, the Switch 2 launch lineup, it had Mario Kart World, and then a bunch of games that were already out on other systems.
Yeah.
Most notably Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Cyberpunk. And Bravely Default. But Bravely Default is a game key card. So
Sonic and Cross Shadow Generations is probably more like fitting title to put in that mentioned list of like a lot of games coming out that were on different systems. That's sort of the thing though with a lot of modern consoles, as we've talked about in the previous episode. Like, there's so many systems where they just threw whatever recent prominent titles that they could at it, and then you got a couple like specifically for this new system, and like that's how they just kind of get the launch together. And
the Wii U, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series all had that. And this is no different.
Yep.
I'll say, on paper, if we take media formats out of the equation completely, just on paper, the titles specifically on paper, on the list, turn it into a list now.
It's pretty good.
There you go.
This is the list
on the list.
A different video.
Go join our Patreon.
Yes.
Worth
the watch.
there is a good number of good video games on this.
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of them, the existence of a lot of them just annoys me because of what they are physically. Which is a game key card in a lot of cases.
Factor in the media it is presented on becomes a little bit more of a bummer.
I think
people who like physical media.
I think the easiest...
You don't give a shit.
The easiest way to put this is like when we, like I said, when we talked about like previous systems, you'd have at least half, 2/3, and in some cases, and like this is for like the last like couple generations specifically, and in some cases like nearly 3/4 of the games or more were physical games that you didn't have to worry about like having a download for. Whereas this game, this system launch, if you count it in the way that I think most people are going to count it, like 80%, more than 80%, honestly, 90% actually, of these games are all digital in some form or another. It's like you got like a few games. It's probably closer to 20% that actually is true physical.
You have 5 games on this list that have a true physical release.
And 2 of them
Mario Kart World.
2 of them are Zelda.
Yeah. So, Mario Kart World, both of the Switch 2 edition Zeldas, and then you have Rune Factory. And Cyberpunk 2077. And Rune Factory was it's a Switch 2 edition release, as just like both of the Zeldas.
Yes. So it's a confusing launch, and I mean we've talked about confusing launches with like this is an Xbox One ass launch lineup because you have, or no, not Xbox One, an Xbox Series ass confusing lineup. Like you have like on paper the games are solid, but like good luck figuring out how you get them all. That's how the Xbox Series X kind of launched. I feel like that's kind of the same thing here. Like you have a good list of games that are kind of confusing to parse out, really, as far as like how you own them. So it's about the same.
The existence of Shadow Gens on Switch 2 just pisses me off because Sega decided to, they're like, all right, yeah, Switch 2, we'll put Shadow Generations on that. We had it on Switch 1, so might as well put it on Switch 2. The problem is that Shadow Gens only exists in a physical form as a game key card, and there is no upgrade path from the Switch 1 version. You can't just like do what you can with Zelda and like just spend $10 for the upgraded version of the game if you already own it. No, Sega says, fuck you. You have to buy the entire game again. And I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like one of those things where like, it's just, you got a handful of games here, but either it's one of those things or it's confusing. It's like it should be one thing, but it's a different thing as far as releases go. Like Shadow Gens should have been a Switch 2 edition. It isn't. Okay. But I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it. Landon, do you have anything to add?
2 things. One, RIP Split Fiction being a code in box. That's the code in box. That's on this list. The price of the console, I thought the console itself was well priced myself.
Yeah.
I was expecting $500.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. I mean, you're comparing it to like the last couple generations where like, you know, Series X is $500. And this is launch prices, by the way. Things have changed. Unfortunately for the worst. But PlayStation 5 is $500. Comes with Astro's Playroom though, so like it's probably more comparable to like the Switch 2 as far as like what you're getting out of the box, because they both have a solid game bundled in if you get the $500 version of the Switch 2 plus the console. So it's I think the price was fine too. I think like it's not the Xbox One situation where you were paying $500 and were forced to get a peripheral bundled in that took away some of the console's power. And also you couldn't negotiate that, and like that was your one SKU. It was like, at least we had options. So not the worst launch ever.
Item 3 on my 2-item list. Making the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom upgrades free for Nintendo Switch owners was cool. The GameCube, I'm just mostly talking about Switch Online at this point. The GameCube launch titles are cool. I like these games. It's just only 3 of them.
Yeah. Like, they couldn't have gotten at least one partner to, like, add a game or 2 in there as just, like, an extra thing. Like, you couldn't get Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. You could get Super Monkey
man.
Ball.
Then it would be a perfect console launch if we had Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Honestly,
as a Switch 2 launch title.
Sega is literally Nintendo's little brother. They couldn't have just picked Sega up and, like, shook him for a second and been like, "You're gonna help me with this."
no, they had to drop Yakuza, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. But those are the only ones. I know. What's its face? The SMT game came out like a week later.
Yeah,
so it's not technically a launch game.
Yeah, the Raido remastered. Yeah.
Yeah, Raido remaster. But I mean, Sega put a bunch of fucking shit out.
Oh yeah, they did. Unfortunately,
it's not like they didn't support. They just didn't support the GameCube.
They just didn't support the GameCube, and they didn't support true physical media for any of it. So at least they're here though.
Which is crazy
Switch
to me.
2.
I know this is getting off topic, but like it's crazy to me because like Sega is making Sonic Racing Cross Worlds a true physical. So like I don't know why they didn't bother like making any of their launch titles true physicals.
Could always
I
be
feel like
just be that like they were kind of like rushed for time for getting the games out there, and like that was just the best option that they thought they had. Because like I've heard rumors about stuff, so like I'm not gonna get into it, but like it seems like this launch could have been handled as far as like in the background a little bit better, but at least on the foreground, our side of things, it's mostly fine.
The one thing to go into the realm of the situation of the launch, this was a very quick launch from announcement to the console being out on store shelves. Because remember, we officially knew about the system in April.
Well, it was revealed in April. We knew about it since January because they revealed it.
We knew about it since 2017 when the Switch 1 came out.
Yeah, but like they actually officially unveiled it in January. They just didn't explain everything until April. But that's still a short time because like, I mean, how long did it take like Xbox One between like when that disaster of like a first announcement came up until like the launch? It was like, I want to say closer to 6 or 7 months, whereas the Switch launch was, the whole cycle is probably about, I want to say 4.5, because it was like late mid-January where we got the video that like showed off that it existed and like that it was just going to be called Switch 2. So like the
actual like launch date was like, that was in April. Yeah. So yeah. But anyway,
let's move on. We're gonna
whatever.
It's whatever. We've talked about it. If you want to hear our full thoughts, there's a previous podcast for that. Going back in time, we actually got a few very interesting handhelds here. Unlike home consoles, which are pretty much like always dedicated hardware, always got their own like platform that they're building out of games. Some handhelds that we're going to talk about tonight did not release as like their own specific dedicated hardware as far as like building its own library. They were released as like an entire handheld platform that would play a different library that already exists and or would be existing alongside it as it's already out. And the first one of that is the Steam Deck. That's a pretty popular one that came out on February 25th, 2022 for the original SKUs. There's a bunch of different configurations. I'm not going to go over all of them, but just know that the cheapest at launch was $400. And if you wanted the highest end configuration at the time of launch, it was $649. So it was, there was like a bunch of different versions of it. You could get up and down the tiering rung, and they've released more different configurations since then. And lastly, as the name implies, it is a Steam Deck. You play Steam games on it. You'll be able to download your games offline to play just with the device as long as you have it. And it plays Steam games. There's no because it's Steam. It plays Steam games. Doesn't have any real true launch titles. I tried to look into like what people might consider a launch title, and there's no real consensus on it. So I'm just gonna say there technically isn't any because there technically isn't any.
At the same time, though, this is a brand new system that has access to everything in the Steam library. So technically, it launched with every game.
Every game on Steam.
This is Schrodinger's console.
Schrodinger
has every launch title and also no launch titles.
Asterisks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those things that are supported on the Steam Deck. 'Cause not everything was or is supported on the Steam Deck.
A large percentage of games are, but there are quite a few like bigger titles that you can technically play it. Technically. That is
you could download it onto the system.
And you could try to run it, and you might not get very far with some of them.
Yeah.
So it depends, but it is compatible with most of your Steam library. So I don't have one of these. I'd like to get one. The launch was pretty hyped up for what it was, but because of the niche type of product it was, it is one of the less popular handhelds that we're going to talk about for pretty much most of the rest of this podcast until we get towards the end. So yeah,
it is a cool piece of technology, and you could run emulators on it too, I guess. Yeah, so there's that. You could play You can play a good version of Chrono Trigger on this.
True. The Steam version of it, now that it's gone through all of its updates, is pretty good. And you could also just
play the DS version.
You could also just emulate the DS version. So,
so there's that.
Honestly, you could just emulate any version of Chrono Trigger. Just don't play the PS1 version, please.
Or the mobile. Please don't play the mobile version. That's actually like the worst version.
Exactly.
Minus maybe the PS1 version. Because
Jack,
of the load times in the PS1.
Anything to add about Steam Deck?
Nope.
Or Chrono Trigger?
Okay. Oh, Chrono Trigger. I'll talk about Chrono Trigger all day.
No. Let's move on. The next one going back in time is to the beautiful day, the cold early March day of March 3rd, 2017. When the Nintendo Switch launched at a price of $299 with an even split 5 and 5 digital and physical games. We had 10 titles, although technically 2 of those digital titles are like one title split into like 2 different versions based on whether or not you wanted the singular campaign or the full package of the game. Because
one of these is Skylanders, so
one of these is Skylanders. So that is, but
we can just remove that from the list. Let's be real.
The big games here for the Nintendo Switch launch, IMO, you had Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yes, it was released at the same time as the Wii U version. It was originally a Wii U game intended, and then they decided they wanted to put it on both. So it was the killer app for the system, despite the fact that it was not actually exclusive to it. That's sure. And then yes, whether you want to admit it or not, unfortunately, there were more people buying the Switch version of this game than the Switch itself when it came out. Like, that's crazy.
You people are crazy.
Like, there was a 102% attach rate between Zelda Breath of the Wild Switch and the Switch itself. It's really weird.
That's honestly nuts.
But there was Breath of the Wild. There was Fast RMX, which, by the way, Shin and Multimedia, they do the fast games. Also had a fast game on the Switch 2, and they've also had a fast game on the Wii U. And they've also had a bunch of games come out at or near launch of like a bunch of different Nintendo systems over the years, as I've learned. Shin and Multimedia, they're always there. You want a new Nintendo system? They got you.
We talked about Art of Balance in a previous podcast, which was also them. So whatever that year in review was, that was this season, go watch that.
Snipper Clips is also a big one if you wanted like a good co-op game, since the Switch actually was one of the first systems in a very long time that came with 2 controllers bundled in. Technically, if you wanted to split them up, you could play with 2 controllers. So that's a good game to get if you buy literally only a Nintendo Switch. that is a game that can take advantage of the Nintendo Switch and its many features. So you got some other stuff here though. You got Shovel Knight, Treasure Trove.
I'm Setsuna for a Chrono Trigger-esque RPG. Let's go back and talk about some more Chrono Trigger now.
True.
I bought Super Bomberman R on launch day. I am still not positive that I've played it. Maybe I have. I was kind of waiting for one of you guys to get it, and then you never did, and so I just kind of like...
don't.
But I didn't get my copy until like 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah, so it kind of got forgotten. I still own it.
You know what's really annoying?
That's like me. It's me and the new Mario Party Superstars Jamboree pack, because I'm still waiting for someone else to get it.
Yeah,
I have it and a camera.
It's kind of low priority right now with Kirby out now. I'd rather get that first, and then I also still need to get other shit too. But yeah. I'll do it at some point.
Yeah, but going back to the Switch, we can just not talk about 1-2 Switch. I wanted to make sure that people knew that it existed, but we're not going to talk about it. Hopefully not.
I've still never played it.
I wanted to say just one little weird thing. It's random. Super Bomberman R annoys me as far as its release goes, because when you first got the game, like when it first came out with the Switch, it was like the one game where like the spine had like this weird, because it just had the Super Bomberman R logo on it, and it was like centered.
Okay.
And like all the other games literally have like the same like font for the most part. Even if it's not Nintendo, it'll have like a similar font, and it'll go down the spine, and then
literally
like a logo.
Every fucking Switch game has the exact same font on the spine. It's nice, it's clean, it looks good on a shelf, and Super Bomberman R, to this day, is the only one in my Switch collection that has a logo instead of the just universal font.
And
they
re-released it later with that changed. It's funny.
That's hilarious.
The physical I Am Setsuna version, which the physical release for that, it's digital only in the US, but it came out physically in
other territories.
Japan. And they have a US cover art variant, which is funny.
That's hilarious.
It's in English, but it's still a Zero. The product has the like the not standard text for it. I don't have it up here. It's downstairs with my collection. Otherwise, I'd bring it up. But overall, I passed on this launch right away. So I think that speaks for everything here. Why buy this when I can just buy Breath of the Wild for my Wii U?
As someone that both had a Wii U and got this on launch, I will say, if you're somebody that passed on the Wii U, even then the launch lineup is literally like you're looking for the one game that I mentioned, and that is probably it. If you're a really big enthusiast, you might look into like 1 or 2 other games, probably Snipper Clips, maybe one of the others. But like,
if you're a sucker 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, this launch lineup outside of, like, you know, the majority of casual players who, you know, were getting this in Breath of the Wild, like, there's not a lot here. Yeah.
It's like you can kind of take Shovel Knight off the table because it's
everywhere.
Been released on other stuff.
It's everywhere already.
Just Dance 2017.
Is Just Dance.
And yeah, so like you're really looking at Breath of the Wild, Super Bomberman R, I Am Setsuna if you're an RPG fan, and you don't have a PlayStation 4.
Yep. And Snipper Clips.
Fast RMX is cool, but like those aren't like, yeah, Breath of the Wild's the system seller. So if you're me and you used your Wii U, you can just wait a month or two.
Yeah. Jack, thoughts about the Nintendo Switch launch, the lineup, how it released?
It's sparse. It's not the strongest launch lineup, but it had Breath of the Wild, and like Cloud said, if you didn't have a Wii U, it was a reason to get the new Nintendo system. I mean, if you were still a Wii U user, I mean, honestly, probably 95% of the people that were like active and like let's say like the small handful of people that used the Wii U as much as Landon did, I imagine most of those people were still going to get the Switch at launch anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the Switch started off selling kind of slow, and they also did not prepare enough for it. It wasn't as bad as like the PS5 or the PS3 or the Wii, where like as soon as people got them, like you couldn't get them anywhere. Like people were like fighting the streets over these things. Like it wasn't that bad, but there were like stock outages for the Switch and like blips during the first year. So like, and most of the people that were getting them were, you know, the people that were. It was pretty
tough. It was definitely pretty tough to get a Switch because of, especially on the West Coast, there was a bunch of port strikes.
Yep. That
were happening, and so that shut down a lot of the shipments coming in from Asia. So that's where most of this junk is made. So oh well.
Nintendo Switch, summarize, not the craziest launch. You know, the system itself as a concept, really cool. Launch games, take it or leave it. Let's go back in time, though, another 5 years, because we're going to talk about Sony's last attempt at a dedicated system. Now, I didn't put the Portal here in this discussion, spoiler alert, because it doesn't have its own way of playing. It has to stream things, whereas the Steam Deck does not, and that's why I skipped the Portal, but I put Steam Deck here, because like I had to draw a line somewhere, or else I was going to be putting like 10 different like variants of fucking handheld system, and I was like, can it play games offline? Yes or no? Okay.
Honestly, I've sold Portals, and if you held a gun to my hand, I would just tell you it's a controller with a screen.
Exactly. So, until Sony does otherwise, the PlayStation Vita, released on February 22nd, 2012, was their last handheld foray. Truly handheld foray. Came in 2 different variants. You had the $249 Wi-Fi model, so that's your base Vita. And then if you wanted to get 3G data support, you could spend an extra $50 and spend $299 for that model. Okay.
That's always been very funny to me, because 3G was outdated when the Vita came out. Like 4G was like pretty much right there.
So 2 things I want to point out before we start talking about the launch titles, since we like to do that a lot, that are very important for this launch. One, this is one of quite a few systems that we're going to start going back in time and seeing, where quite a lot of the games were coming out early. So like you could get them a week or so in advance before the system actually released, so that you could have games by the time the system came out. I don't know why they did this a bunch with handheld systems. Maybe because it's a lower profile kind of launch, I guess, compared to like a home console launch. I don't know. But they did this. And also, one very important thing to note about the Vita is that alongside it launching, it launched with its own proprietary memory that you needed for the system. And unlike the PSP, which at least used the same memory sticks that their cameras had at the time, so like there was some sort of, media cross compatibility, the Vita's was literally proprietary, full stop, only usable on the Vita, no other device, and it was expensive. So that $249 price tag is not really $249 because you had to get some memory with it.
If you wanted even like a decent amount of memory, like if you want like the Vita to be like a digital exclusive system for you, which I imagine a decent amount of people did, just because like, handheld system that can like download games, why not have it be digital only? But like the memory cards.
Also, like PlayStation Plus was a thing, and you could get free downloads through that.
Yeah,
and
a lot of cross compatibility happened between like PS3 and PSP and the Vita. So like all your PS like 1 classics.
And when you mentioned the PS Plus stuff, like that is how they distributed some of these games, was like through PSN. Like quite a few of these games that they were releasing early, they intended for you to like buy it in advance on like your other PlayStation platform that you already have, or sign into your PlayStation account on the website, I guess. And then you would download it on the Vita when it came out. So like that was something that they planned for. And then they still wanted you to spend upwards of $100 for a memory card that only worked in the Vita. And the cheapest options were still not very cheap and didn't have a lot of storage either. It was like, what was it, like $30-$40 for like a 2 gigabyte stick or something small like that? Like they did not have a lot of storage.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 4 gigabyte for like the lowest end. It was crazy.
I don't want to go too deep into the weeds. You get the picture. It has an invisible extra price tag. But let's talk about the games.
If you take out all that dumb malarkey, it's a pretty cool like lineup of video games.
It's a pretty strong
system
lineup
that died right after this.
Yeah, frankly, a system that did not live long enough to really like see just how much more it could have been capable of. It started strong. Like
Gravity Rush came out like what, a month?
It was
later.
It was a couple months.
Months.
But
yeah. It came out within the same year.
But you've got Hot Shots Golf, a new Hot Shots Golf. You've got a brand new Uncharted, which unlike the PSP, a lot of these were like full scale games. It wasn't just like meant to be like a cute spin-offy game. Like a lot of these were meant to be their own like games. You have Touch My Katamari. You've got Virtua Tennis 4, Wipeout 2048. Wipeout games were on both of PlayStation's handhelds at launch, by the way. Like they had for something they wanted. You had Mondation Racers, the recent one that had come out like just earlier on a PS3, I believe. That was released on there. You have a new Luminous. Like there's a lot of stuff. It's just it's just hard to buy one and have it supported right when you get it.
Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 classic. Haven't played it yet.
And keep in mind, these are graphics notwithstanding, usually the full scale game that you'd be getting on the HD console that it was originally released for, as far as the games that were re-released and stuff. Like you weren't getting content cut from the game like the DS or or a different version altogether like the DS, 3DS, and in some cases even the PSP. Like you had a full ass game. So
I'm going to call my shot. This might be the most exciting lineup we are going to talk about today.
Probably. It's got Rayman Origins.
It's got Rayman
Origins.
There's
a lot here, and there's some stuff that's kind of whatever, but like you got a Ninja Gaiden.
Yep.
Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus. I mean,
that was it was like a new version of the recent Ninja Gaiden, but it was actually, this version was made specifically for the Vita, where like it's still the same game, but like you got like extra changes or whatever. Like it's still the same game, but like they had like a Vita special version for it. So like there's so many games here, and there's actually pretty good selection. I just wish the launch itself outside of the game lineup was better.
Was Continuum Shift for BlazBlue a good one, Jack?
Yeah, I like Continuum Shift. That's probably the BlazBlue game I've played the most.
Okay.
I'm sure that the Vita version holds up decently enough, so yeah.
I think I've heard that the Vita version is, at least I remember it being bad, but I don't actually know for sure.
It can't be worse than a hypothetical version on a different handheld that is far less powerful. But Jack, anything else to add about the Vita launch?
No, not really.
Okay. And Landon, you said everything that you wanted to say. So let's go back a year in time to the Vita's direct competitor with the Nintendo 3DS, which came out on March 27, 2011, and unfortunately also launched at a price that was a little too high compared to stuff that came before it, at $249. And it also had its own launch lineup, and I gotta say, despite the fact that 3 of the launch titles were pack-in software with every 3DS unit, there is not a lot of stuff of interest here. There's like, I mean, every notable title is such a whatever entry of its respective series. Like, you have Nintendogs and Cats in 3 different versions. They tried to do like a Pokemon thing, where they had it split into different versions, and you know, the Nintendogs craze was kind of mostly over already at that point. And I don't think you're going to get a casual person to spend $250 on a handheld for Nintendogs again. So, you've got Rayman 3D, which is Rayman 2. By the way, because they've re-released Rayman 2 a bunch of times on Nintendo systems. And then
I have played Rayman
things.
3D, and I can confirm it's Rayman 2.
Exactly. Steel Divers, like, whatever. Pilot Wings Resort is probably one of like the better and more notable games here, which is unfortunate because there's so much else that's like whatever. Asphalt 3D, for some reason, like their Asphalt series just wanted to be on everything at launch for a little bit. Like, you'll see it later. There's a couple more of those. Super Street Fighter 3D 4 3D is all right. I don't know about Super Monkey Ball 3D. Hopefully it's fine. You can play The Sims 3 on your handheld, I guess. If that fancies you. Bridge Racer 3D, sure. Like, none of these, like, I'm sounding excited about because I'm just not. I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah,
rough.
no, the 3DS launch lineup was pretty bad. Lennon, did you get you got a 3DS for your birthday like I did, right?
Yep.
Like right after it came out.
Yep.
Unlike me though,
no games with it.
What's that?
I had no games with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like, unlike me, I actually bought a couple of games with my 3DS when I got it, or well, rather, I was gifted them. It was my birthday. You did not get any games, and it was just your new DS.
Yep. I got a cool DS upgrade, and I don't think I got a 3DS specific game until Tetris Axis came out in like the late summer, early fall of that year.
Yeah.
It took all
And
the
for
way.
For most people, the first like decent title was Ocarina of Time 3D.
Yeah.
And that wasn't until June, 3 months later.
Yeah. So
And
it
rough.
was
that is a
not a-
remake. So if you wanted a new 3DS game, you were waiting till later in the year when you got, and I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, so I'm just going to say, actually, I'm pretty sure Super Mario 3D Land came out first, and then Mario Kart 7.
Yep.
yes,
That is correct.
And that,
And that was like
not a strong launch for the 3DS.
no.
Once again, I mean, like the PS3 as well, which launched with piss and had a terrible first year, eventually became a pretty successful console with a solid lineup of games. 3DS is kind of similar, except it wasn't quite.
It didn't take as long. Yeah.
It wasn't as catastrophically bad as the PS3 was at launch.
It wasn't as
But
bad, and it also
was-
got better faster.
It was overpriced when it
Overpriced.
launched. There's a reason that they dropped the price, like, what was it, $70 or $80?
$80.
Like-
It went down to $169.
Yep. And
Yeah. And that was in the
Yeah.
launch year, so that is worth noting. They had to reduce the price in the same year it was out in order to get this thing selling.
that's I don't know what they were thinking by releasing it at $250, honestly.
At least they thought of reducing the price as quickly as possible. You don't get to say the same about the Vita right away.
Like, the Vita was $250 at launch as well, but it had games to go
It had,
with it.
true, it did have games, and that were good games.
But then again, like we said, if you want to get a memory card, that $250 becomes $350 real quick.
So, yeah.
When-
3DS.
When your best games are Face Raiders and Street Pass Me Plaza.
and maybe Pilot Wings Resort if you want to get spicy.
Pilot Wings Resort. That's I mean
I have
I'm
heard.
not-
I've still never played it, but I have heard good things about Pilot Wings
I
Resort.
also need to get it.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
So let's go back in time. We got the PlayStation Portable, the PSP. That came out way back in North America on March 24th, 2005. for some reason, I always got the release dates mixed up, and I always thought that this was a late 2004 release in North America. No, it was early 2005. It also came out at $249 at launch, and somehow that did not stop the PSP from selling. But the launch lineup, when I was looking back at the PSP launch lineup, and maybe it's my bias as like somebody that owns PSP and had it for a while out of the three of us, it's actually not bad. Like, it's pretty good for a launch lineup. I wouldn't say it's as good as the Vita, but you already have a remake of the original Ape Escape on here. You've already got a dedicated Metal Gear game. You've got a Twisted Metal title, and you've got some pretty good ports of like previous systems that were like watered down in order to be on the PSP. You have Lumines. That's a very prominent title. So like, I wouldn't say it's like groundbreaking as far as launch lineups, but like, it's competent. And as far as PlayStation systems go, as far as launch lineups, that's saying something.
It's got Spider-Man 2 and Tony Hawk's Underground 2. What more do you need?
Would you say that Sony's PlayStation handhelds had better launch lineups than the home consoles?
I would say for the most part, yes.
Confidently, yes.
Yes.
Like, we remember last time we said that we kind of like realized at the end, God, does the PS5 have the best launch lineup for PlayStation? And it's so sad to say because it feels like such an underwhelming lineup on paper.
But yeah.
And the answer was the Vita, actually.
Yeah, the Vita.
The Vita. And PSP, credit where it's due, not a bad launch lineup either. I actually did not realize that Ape Escape on the Loose was a launch title, and that is impressive considering how good of a PSP remake that is. Especially when the game is trying to take over a PS1 game that had to use all of the PlayStation 1 DualShock controllers inputs, and then converting that down to using less buttons because you didn't have the extra shoulder buttons, you didn't have the 2 sticks, you only had 1. So like, the fact that they made that as a launch title and it works as well as it does, since I played through it, that's pretty impressive. The PSP was punching above its weight. The price, though, I can see why quite a few people did not buy games for it at launch, because when you're already spending $250 on your brand new system, you might not want to get games unless they come with it for free. And that is probably one of the reasons why some people got a PSP and immediately hacked it and put Game Boy Advance emulators on it.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
250 is a lot, especially in 2005 when this came out.
And especially compared to the competition that we'll talk about in a moment.
Yeah, like, all things considered, the PSP did a lot better than it should have, honestly, considering the competition. But, yeah, that launch price is not great.
Yeah. And
if it was 200, I could see it, but like 250 in 2005, that's a lot.
They did slowly put the price down more and more over time, obviously, because that was what used to be the case for systems. But 250 as a starting point, especially for a handheld. I mean, as a home console, that would have been fine. But we're going to go back in time one more time before we do a quick break and talk about the direct competitor to the PSP, that being the Nintendo DS, released on November 21st, 2004. And fun fact, that was actually the first launch of the system worldwide. Usually it would come out in its home region first of whatever the company that made it is. In most cases, Japan would get it first, and then we would get it. No, we got it first, and that is why the Nintendo DS is America's system.
It's true. Look it up.
We have a podcast on this system.
Ask Reggie.
Launching at only $149. Although, looking at the launch lineup, it is sparse. There are 7 titles, and one of them is a demo that you get for free with your purchase of the Nintendo DS. And then the other 6 games, there's like one of them that is known to be a good game, that being Super Mario 64 DS. one weird game from Sega, Feel the Magic XYXX, and then 3 other games that don't matter. 4 other games. Four other games that don't matter, including an Asphalt game. Hi, Asphalt.
This is the third console we've talked about where Super Mario 64 was a launch title.
It's true.
3.
And I feel like this is the weakest of the 3.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
You can argue between the 64 and the Wii, like one of those two having a better launch lineup.
No one is arguing for the DS, though.
No.
It's a little sad. When did Mario Kart DS come out?
The following year, 2005. I don't remember exactly when it was. I think it was like...
It was like May, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't super late into the year, but it wasn't super early in either, so people were waiting a pretty good time.
Nope, never mind. It was November of 2005.
I was going to say...
Okay, you were waiting a pretty good long time.
I thought it was a holiday because I remember I got my DS with Mario Kart DS for like whatever that holiday season was. So 2005.
I also got my DS in holiday season 2005.
Yeah,
oh, you're twinsies.
So that makes sense. Yeah, no.
This
thanks.
This launch lineup is probably one of Nintendo's worst. And Nintendo doesn't have like terrible catastrophic launch lineups most of the time. But this isn't very good.
The only notable thing I can say about any of these third-party launch titles is that Feel the Magic XYXX is a T-rated game that got away with having a picture of a nude woman at the very end, and the ESRB missed it because they didn't play long enough to see it.
I think one thing that does save the Nintendo DS is at least the system launched at an affordable price for handhelds at the time. $149 is perfectly reasonable, perfectly good. It's just when your launch lineup is this, why do you expect people to care?
Once again, insane that the DS did as well as it did, because when it launched, it was, I want to say $100 more than the GameCube at the time, because you could find a GameCube for like $50 in 2004.
It was, so that wasn't the official price though at any point. The official price at that point, I believe, was the $99 price tag that they eventually settled on. And
even still,
but your point still stands. This was released at a higher price than the home console that was already out at the time. And there's a reason why they said that the Nintendo DS was not going to succeed the Game Boy Advance. It was a third pillar to stand alongside it and the GameCube, because it launched at $150 with like almost no notable games, and they were afraid that it wasn't going to do well. And then they released Mario Kart, and then they released a light model, which, as much as like nowadays looking back, it's not a very strong handheld model, but it was what sold a lot of people the system. It's like it eventually managed to bounce back and recover, but not a strong start for one of the greatest systems of all time. Very interesting.
No, it took it at least a year to like get going, honestly.
All right, let's take a break, though. We got a lot more systems to talk about, and although we're probably going to be jumping through quite a few of them, this is a pretty good point to get you guys all caught up on our socials and our other outlets. We got a Twitch, where we're here right now doing this live. If you're listening to the VOD, you could also just go to twitch.tv/GamingStooges. Hi to the live chat. We have other things besides the podcast that we do here on Twitch. And right now we got Jack going through Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and he's finding out that that game is not very nice to people that don't know how to get good. And it's...
You talking shit about me?
A little bit, just a little bit. Just saying that Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, because of it being the first game in the series, it is not very forgiving at points. But you're playing through that.
I'm bad at it. I'm just gonna say, if you want to watch me be bad at watch someone be bad at Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, I'm streaming that right now.
I am currently going through Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster still, having a really great time with my second playthrough of that. And I will say right now, If you are listening to this as a VOD or just the audio only version, by the time this goes out in that way, I might already be done. We'll see. I have 2 weeks worth of streams ahead by the time that's a thing, so there's a good chance I will be done and moving on to the next game, which will be a poll that you can vote on if you go to patreon.com/GamingStooges. Holy crap, segue to the next thing. Patreon.com/GamingStooges, we have polls where you help decide the direction of the channel. We have a $3 Silver Stooge tier and a $6 Gold Stooge tier. These Silver Stooges all get exclusive content, as far as sometimes most of the polls that we do to decide what we do in the future are given to those to vote on. Sometimes we'll do polls that you can vote on as long as you're a member that follows us there. $6 tier is for the Gold Stooges. All 3 of our paid members are Silver Stooge tier right now, so no shout outs. If you were at the $6 tier, you'd be able to get a special shout out. But Silver Stooge tiers get what I mentioned earlier, exclusive content. This month, we have a PlayStation 3 thing that I just realized I forgot to upload tonight. So by the time this goes out to other platforms, that'll be out. And then September, we have a Mario-related thing, since he's coming up on his 40th anniversary. So those will both be out in the near future. I was just confessing that I forgot to put the PlayStation 3 video out, and that'll be out by the end of the month. I have like 3 days, 4 days to do that.
Oof.
But I'm glad I remembered. I was thinking about it, and I was like, holy shit, almost forgot. That will be out by the time this goes out to other platforms, and we'll be planning our September one as well. Landon has been playing Dragon Quest IV, Chapters of the Chosen. So how's that been for you? And then you can go ahead and tell us about your Tillamook.
That has been going, I feel like, very well. I believe we are going to finish up Chapter 4 this upcoming stream, where you play as the twins, Mina and Maya. And then I think we can actually start playing the video game, finally.
Wow.
You know, it takes a prologue for you to play as the main character, and then 4 chapters, you know, go by, and then by chapter 5, you can actually start playing through the fucking game again. It's wonderful. I actually like the setup for Dragon Quest IV Chapters of the Chosen, where you like you play as all of your companions, and you kind of learn their story a little bit more than just when the hero meets them. You get a little bit more of that backstory of what the fuck is going on with them, more thrown in your face.
But you can hear more of your thoughts about that on the streams, because you talk quite a bit about the structure of the game, how you're liking it.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I grabbed this pint of chocolate peanut butter, not because I'm done with the caramel swirl, but the caramel swirl is buried under lots of frozen food that is for my children.
All right.
And to unbury that would be God's test.
So
God's test.
We're going to go back in time. We have the year before the Nintendo DS, there was an extremely late or maybe an early addition to the generation, depending on which generation this is considered to be a part of. It didn't last long enough to really decisively be anywhere, because it was the Nokia N-Gage. It was a hybrid handheld system / mobile phone that released around October 7th, 2003. The launch is a little hazy because it did not do well. And part of the reason why it did not do well is because it was $299. To be fair, it was also a phone,
N-Gage,
but it was also $299.
The N-Gage is considered as part of the 6th generation of video games, so
it was a late edition.
That's
late. Awesome. Very late.
Yeah.
It is. It also, some of the launch titles that came out were released a couple days later, and since the relaunch was around the 7th, I just decided to include them because the other 2 released on October 10th. So, just gonna say, there was honestly, looking at this launch lineup, it's not very large, but it's surprisingly pretty good. Like, I've seen these games in action. Like you have Sonic N, that is a version of Sonic Advance for Nokia N-Gage instead. You have a Super Monkey Ball game. It's a port of Super Monkey Ball. Obviously, it's very watered down, but it exists. Tomb Raider, which is the Tomb Raider from the 5th generation of game consoles. Tomb Raider. Like, this isn't like a specific Tomb Raider. You have a Puyo Puyo game, known as Puyo Pop at the time. There's a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. You have Puzzle Bobble Versus.
It's very funny.
Like, there's actually not a bad lineup of games here. Like, if you just told me this was the launch lineup and, like, the price was not $300, I'd be interested. Like, I'd be like, okay, this sounds
better
interesting.
Launch lineup than the DS.
It has a better launch lineup than the DS. That is so fucking weird to me.
Yeah.
And yet, I think I think if there's anything to take away from these two podcasts, it's that the launch does not mean everything.
It does
not.
In
fact, it often means very little.
It often means almost the opposite of what will come true. But yes, in most cases, it's like, don't worry about your launch as long as you make the system good over time.
As long as you support it.
Yes.
That's the key factor.
The N-Gage was not supported long term. The DS was. There is a reason these two systems, released a year apart, did very differently. But I don't have an N-Gage, and I kind of wish I did just for the launch lineup, but I also don't care enough to actually get one. So
when I got a Vita, I confused my mother because I posted on social media, and I put a little piece of paper over where it says PS Vita, and I put N-Gage, and I said, I just got my new N-Gage. And she's like, did I get you the wrong thing?
Oh, God.
Because she bought me the Vita Slim, and I was like, no, don't worry about it. Yeah. So that is my N-Gage story. That is all I have to. If we did an N-Gage specific podcast,
there it is.
We'd be right back there with that same story again.
Like Al said in the chat, the end justifies the means.
True.
Fuck off. All three of you, fuck off.
Jack, did you have anything to add about the Nokia N-Gage?
Not really.
Not very engaged with this one?
$300 is a shit ton.
Yeah. Let's go back in time a couple years to the last handheld system that came out, and it was not $300, thankfully. You had the Game Boy Advance from Nintendo, released on June 11th, 2001, at a launch price of only $99, because Nintendo liked to release their systems below their handhelds below $100 when necessary until the DS. So that was interesting. The Game Boy Advance came with an interesting lineup of games, and there's Super Mario Advance and a bunch of other stuff. And Super Mario Advance it's not bad.
It's not an awful lineup. I mean, it's got
Castlevania, Circle of the Moon.
Yep.
It's got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which
as a GBA
it's the GBA
game
version of the game, but from what I've heard, they are actually pretty competently made games and still fun to some degree.
So I can't vouch for the Game Boy Advance version. I played the Game Boy Color version of this game, and I thought it was fine. So it was probably fine on Game Boy Advance. I mean, you have Rayman Advance, you have ports of Earthworm Jim and Choo Choo Rocket. You have you had a kart racer with Konami Crazy Racers, apparently. Atlas actually provided a launch title, and it wasn't like one of their patented RPGs. It was a dodgeball game, Super Dodgeball Advance. I just thought that was funny that they did that. Yeah, I'm gonna say the launch lineup, to me, it's not bad. And I think that the 3DS's launch lineup, when you just consider just the launch titles, is also not bad. So it's about the same thing, but the system was also only $99 and a big leap up from the previous system. So this is already better. But it's also just as far as launch lineups. I will admit I did not get a Game Boy Advance during its launch year because I was too busy with Pokemon Gold and Silver, so I did not care.
I did for Christmas.
I think I had to wait till Advance. No, I didn't get a Game Boy Advance until Game Boy Advance SP, and I had to wait a year from that launch.
So 2004.
So you didn't get one until was it 04?
Yes, because the launch was 2003. He said a year after that.
I believe it was a year after.
That's a long
which is
time.
crazy to think about. That I got a DS pretty quickly after.
To be
that.
fair, something I was learning in this, especially for handhelds, more than anything else. I mean, it happens in North America for home consoles as well. There's a long periods of time where like the previous system is still getting a lot of support. So even if the launch of a new hardware isn't anything to write home about, you might not even realize that it matters at all because you'll have enough stuff on the previous thing. Like, the Game Boy Advance came out at a time when the Game Boy Color was still a very big deal for some people. So even though the launch lineup here is whatever, it's not like you had nothing to play. But did you guys have any... I do want to say the first Game Boy Advance game I got, and again, this is in 2002, was Monsters, Inc. Because there was a Monsters, Inc. game that came out by that time that I got it. So that's cool. You guys have anything to add about the Game Boy Advance launch? I mean, Landon, you already mentioned that you didn't really get to play it till much later, so...
Yeah.
Isn't Castlevania Circle of the Moon like considered a pretty good one?
I believe so.
I don't know, but I know that it was made specifically for the GBA, so it wasn't a port or anything like they made it.
People like the GBA Castlevania games, actually, from what I remember.
It's got a 91% Metacritic.
That's insanely high, so okay, there you go.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah.
How's the user score look?
7.9.
Okay, so it's probably a little less than, like, as far as, like, what people are concerned, but still good.
GameSpot gave it a 9.6 when it came out.
Jeez. All right, but Game Boy Advance, okay, sure, not too bad. Nothing too crazy as far as like launch games, but like at the price that they're asking for it, and there's enough there. I mean, the genre diversity is decent enough. And the last thing I'll say is that one of the games that it came out with, Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure, was a port of a Genesis game, and this was the last time that game came out was on Game Boy Advance, so that's cool. But let's go back in time another couple years. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the Neo Geo Pocket Color, released around August 6, 1999. And I need to make this clear. There was a Neo Geo Pocket. We did not get the Neo Geo Pocket. We only got the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And to be fair, the original Neo Geo Pocket came out the year before in Japan. So like it was literally just 2 back-to-back years, Pocket Color. So... and it did come out at a very reasonable price of $69. Nice. Technically $69.95, but nice.
Oh. Down arrow.
Should have been $69.96.
The Neo Geo Pocket Color, I think for our interests, is most notable for having its own Sonic the Hedgehog game that was before Sonic Advance in Sonic Pocket Adventure. But there's a bunch of games on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I don't care about any of them, but it's cool that they have games.
I mean, Fatal Fury and King of Fighters is already better than the Neo Geo AES that we talked about last time.
The Neo Geo Pocket Color, as far as like launch lineup, blows the original Neo Geo out of the water for North American stuff. So like, at least there's that.
Yeah, and having a Pac-Man game.
Yep. I've heard Neo Turf Masters is pretty good from what I remember hearing.
And Samurai Showdown. They had like all of like their big fighting games were on the Neo Geo Pocket Color at launch for this thing. Jesus Christ.
So yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck? This is like
bust a move. Okay, sure.
This is honestly for
It's
if
better.
you like Neo Geo stuff, this is good.
It's better than some of the Nintendo handhelds, to be honest. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
I just wish that the Neo Geo Pocket Color had more support, because as we talked about earlier, the launch does not mean that much at all, because this thing died very fast, unfortunately. We're going to go back another year to 1998, and fuck you, Nintendo. You might say that this is part of the same handheld model as another system we'll talk about later, but we're splitting it up because you yourselves launched this as separate hardware. Shame on you for your inconsistency. Time to talk about the Game Boy Color, released on November 18th, 1998 at a launch price of $79. Very reasonable price. And it launched with 4 games, which is not a lot, but they are Game Boy Color games in Centipede, Game & Watch Gallery 2, Pocket Bomberman, and Tetris DX. And god damn it, Nintendo might think that this is still just a Game Boy, but there were Game Boy Color games. There wasn't just Game Boy games, they were Game Boy Color games.
Were they Game Boy Color games that you could play on a Game Boy, though?
I think all 4 of the ones that came out at launch were Game Boy cross-compatible, yes. They would release Game Boy Color exclusive games later since the Game Boy Color was more powerful, so they took advantage of that later on, but a lot of the Game Boy Color games that came out when the system came out were cross-compatible with Game Boy. But not gonna lie, outside of the fact that the Game Boy Color, hardware-wise, is really cool, the launch lineup, kind of dumb, kind of ass, kind of boring, kind of uninteresting. And it's not because the games are bad, it's just like, it's just color versions of games that are not system sellers, but good. I mean, people already had Tetris on Game Boy.
Yeah, but this is DX.
Do you need Tetris DX over Tetris? Is that important?
Yes, there's a spaceship on the box art.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, like, nothing is sticking out here for me just because, like, as a launch lineup, like, it's whatever. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, my experience with getting a Game Boy Color was when they bundled the Pokemon games in with releases of it the following year. So, and this system did come out right around when Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow did, and it's so, like, there was that, even though those are Game Boy games. Not even Game Boy Color, those are Game Boy games. Although,
yeah, I got the Pokemon Yellow Special Edition.
That one is more Game Boy Color than Game Boy, at least, so. Like, Pokemon Yellow itself, the game. So. Yeah, Game Boy Color, great system, launch, nothing special. But back in 1995, we had another system which was not a dedicated handheld for its own library of games, with the Genesis Nomad, released around October 1995, and it launched at $179. So for a handheld in 1995, that's kind of a lot. And also, it only plays Genesis games, which is cool and all, but that's all it does. It is just a portable way to play Genesis games.
The original Steam Deck, if you will.
No, there's another thing that comes out after that comes out even before that.
Know.
But it did not do well either. It did notable enough for me to add it. I did not include the Virtual Boy because that was a line that I, again, same with PlayStation Portal, I had to draw somewhere. Virtual Boy is a little different as far as circumstances, but it's kind of hard to call that a handheld, even though it is technically supposed to be not a home console because of the circumstances. So I was just like, okay, no. Because then at that point, I'd have to add in the Oculus, and I don't think Landon wants me to talk about the Oculus.
You mean, you can if you want. I'll just stare blankly at you while you do it.
Yeah.
The Nomad's cool for what it is. I mean,
I just wish it wasn't $180.
Yeah, you could play Shining Force on it, so that's cool.
You could play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Phantasy Star 4 on the go.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, for what it is like a cool piece of technology. But
unless you're like an avid Sega fan and specifically a Sega Genesis fan, this does nothing for you.
And have a lot of batteries.
Yes, because it does eat batteries like a motherfucker. That is a running thing with Sega's handhelds, because there's another one we're going to talk about later on. In fact, let's talk about it right now because it was the next one in line. The Sega Game Gear, released around April 1991 at a launch price of $149, which is a little bit better, still kind of expensive as far as handhelds at this time, but not as bad as it could be. The launch titles are a little weird. There's some that came out so it technically launched in April 1991, but it wasn't like a full region-wide launch. Like it was like kind of like scattered around. So I did add in some launch titles that came up to June of that year, which is like the following month, because the April 1991 is like end of April sort of thing. It did come with Columns, which is one of the most notable Game Gear games. But within that window, you also had a Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse version. You had G-Lock Air Battle, Psychic World, the game now known as Wonder Boy, released as Revenge of Drancon. So you did have Wonder Boy. That's pretty cool. Super Monaco GP, which is a racing title. Dragon Crystal, which is an RPG. Very interesting. And the GG Shinobi, that is the name of it, is Game Gear Shinobi. Literally just called the GG Shinobi.
The Game Gear Shinobi.
And and I've heard good things about it, so. The Game Gear launch lineup, not crazy, but not bad. Pretty good
This
lineup.
is pretty, honestly, there's, I own a couple of these games for my Game Gear.
Quality over quantity.
Columns, solid. Classic. Psychic World I played a little bit. The Wonder Boy I played. I forget if I have Shinobi or if that's on my list to get. But Dragon Crystal is definitely probably my standout. This is a roguelike dungeon crawler.
If Pixel was here, she would be going crazy.
Yeah. You are training up. It's a dragon egg that follows you around, and every floor you go down, it becomes progressively stronger. But it's a cool little dungeon crawler, very mystery dungeon-esque as far as how it's set up. And I think there's only 20 floors, so it's kind of easy to play through. But yeah, there's a couple good stuff here. It's the Game Gear, so no one gives a shit but me.
The problem with the Game Gear is that, one, it's a little more expensive than its competition. Especially, it's more importantly, its direct competitor, because we've got two other systems that it is cheaper than, but it is also not as it's still more expensive than the actual one that matters as far as competition. And you said you need batteries. And boy, do you need batteries.
There is an AC adapter for this thing. So if you want to sit next to a wall.
If you want to take out the portability of your portable gaming console.
Yes. That is an option. But yeah, at $150 when you compare it to the Game Boy.
We'll get there.
That's rough. But also you have, it's a dedicated color system.
And a lot of good games.
And, it came out with a handful of stuff. I wouldn't say, any of this is necessarily the biggest stuff for the system. None of the Sonics. And
I think if you had
Sonic 1,
Sonics. Even if Sonic 1 is one of the kind of in the middle as far as Game Gear Sonic titles go, if you had Sonic the Hedgehog Game Gear on here as a launch title, I think that would immediately just put it up several stages, just because you'd be launching with your mascot platformer. And I think that's probably one of the things that held the Game Gear back from getting a good bit of going. But hey, it's a pretty solid launch lineup, at least. I would honestly hazard to say one of the better handheld launch lineups here. The bar's not very high.
It is.
This is pretty good.
It's a pretty low bar.
All right, the Turbo
Like, it's
Express.
so low, Jack has checked out. Like,
Yep.
look at him.
I just don't have much to say about it. I mean, like, just
The
the
Game Gear.
lineup. I mean, I haven't played any of these games. So,
Yeah.
nah.
I gotta play some of these games because I am interested in Game Gear stuff coming up in the near, not so distant future. But going back, we got the Turbo Express, which was released roughly in September 1990. Not an exact launch date, unfortunately. But the only thing that's notable about it, besides its $249 launch price, ouch, that is 1990 money, by the way. It is similar to the Steam Deck and Genesis Nomad. It only plays games that are already for another platform. And in this system's case, only one media among those, because this was for the TurboGrafx, and the TurboGrafx had multiple different pieces of media to play games on. The Turbo Express only plays the Who card games, nothing else. It's really weird.
Which
You guys
means...
want to...
Go
You guys
ahead.
want to take a guess and see how much $249 in September 1990 money is today?
Sure,
I
give
already-
it to us.
I already have $606.
Jesus.
That's PlayStation 3. Like, what the hell? No wonder
Although-
this thing bombed.
Although PlayStation 3 in 2006 money is like over $1,000 today, so
True.
it'd be like that.
Yeah, Turbo Express. I have no experience with this thing. I think I've seen it in the wild all of one time. Never even touched it though. Yeah, it's a portable version of the TurboGrafx 16, sort of, almost, not really, but kind of.
Here's the pros and cons to only playing the Who cards. You can play Dungeon Explorers on this thing.
Because it is one of those.
You get none of the Falcom titles. No Yeez.
Yeah, because those were all in a different medium that the Turbo Express had. So
Yep. So you can fuck right off.
exactly.
But you can play Dungeon Explorers.
This is kind of
Something.
like, at least with the Sega Nomad, like, barring situations where there was a Genesis title that, like, had something wonky about it, which, I mean, like, you still had, like, the vast majority of Genesis titles you could play. This is closer to the Steam Deck, where it's like, you can kind of sort of play the games from the platform that this is meant for, but also asterisk.
Yeah, large asterisks on this one. Because, like, most of the library, honestly, for the TurboGrafx is not
Not
the
Who cards.
Yeah.
In fact, they gave up on the Who cards fairly early in. Like, they did
Yeah.
Who cards, and then when they found out that there was a different medium that they could use with the Turbo Express that they had support for, and those were getting better games, they quickly dropped Who card support. So you could not play any of the new games that came out after that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
yeah.
rough.
We got two more systems to talk about, and the first of those is Atari's only notable handheld system, the Atari Lynx, released on actually right around the same time as the last system we're going to talk about, but a little bit later. You had September 1st, 1989, and it released at a price of $179, and 1989 money, that is more than the Game Gear. And also, the launch lineup is whatever. It is 5 games. It is Blue Lightning, California Games, which I've heard is decent, Electrocop, Gates of Zendikon, and Chips Challenge, which I have also heard is decent. But yeah, does anybody care about any of these games?
I've only sort of heard of maybe Chips Challenge.
Yeah.
I've heard of Chips Challenge, but
I've heard of Chips Challenge, and I've heard of California Games.
I know about California Games. I've seen like videos on that one before. It's bad. From what it looks like anyway.
I mean, I've heard that there's like one, because it's like a bunch of like stupid like different games all in one. I think there's like one or two among those games that's like considered good, and like the rest are like whatever. But like, this is the Atari Lynx. It has 5 games, and none of them matter, and it's also expensive. And it was also released 1 month after the Game Boy, which came out on July 31st, 1989 at a price of $89. And it also launched with 5 titles of its own, but as you'll hear in a moment, those launch titles are actually important and matter. You have Alleyway, Baseball, Tennis, Super Mario Land, and Tetris.
I take it back what I said about the Vita. I think this is the best line.
I was going to say.
I think, unfortunately, the first major handheld, I mean, you had the Microvision or whatever the fuck that was from the Intellivision people or whatever before it, but like, this is the first major handheld gaming system that everybody knows and loves. And it was probably like the best one as far as launch lineups go. It's like, you had 5 games and they were all solid or defining. I mean, you had Tetris.
Yeah.
You had Tetris. Like,
yeah, it had Tetris. That's all the Game Boy needed, obviously, because it sold.
But like,
it became that second pillar of the Nintendo like brand for video game consoles.
But then you still also have a Super Mario 2D platformer out in 1989 for it. You had Alleyway, which was a really popular title. That's the cool Breakout clone, I think, style one.
It is.
And then Baseball and Tennis are Baseball and Tennis. So, like, sure.
They're not awful versions of those sports, but
this is one of those systems where it's like they could have done the N64 thing and literally launched with just Tetris and Super Mario Land, and that would have been enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
They just gave us 3 extra games just because.
And like Super Mario Land, that's far from like one of my favorite Super Mario games. It's cool, it's neat.
But to launch with it, that's pretty crazy.
It's a solid launch title. It like just time has eroded that game. But like getting a like full on Mario platformer at launch for the Game Boy, that does it. That does the trick.
Let's be real. As far as like, except for the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2, which are their own beasts entirely, as far as launch lineups of handheld systems, there's 2 systems that have a killer app for their handheld, and that is the Vita and the Game Boy.
Yep.
All the other ones you can take or leave. Like, there's decent enough titles, but there's not like a killer app that like you will buy the system because you want that one game. The Vita actually has one, and the Game Boy's like the other one that you can easily say has one. The other ones you really have to try to dig through an argument to get like people to be like, okay, yeah, I see that. So like,
yeah, I mean, if the Nintendo DS had like launched with Metroid Prime Hunters, I have my own thoughts and feelings of Metroid Prime Hunters, but
it would have been better than having just the demo.
That would have been the killer app that
it would have been something.
Yeah. And then the PlayStation Portable, the PSP, like came kind of close with some of its stuff, but no, the Vita having like Uncharted, honestly.
Uncharted, Hot Shots, Katamari.
Yeah. But like Uncharted was like Uncharted and Hot Shots were like the 2 major first party, and I guess Wipeout? Wipeout like that's a Sony. So you had like 3 Sony, like good Sony games. Yeah. No, the Game Boy fucking kills it again.
Yep. So, let's go around, and if you had to pick your, excuse me, your single worst and 3 favorite launch lineups or as far as systems go, let's rattle it off. Jack, do you need time, or do you have yours?
No, I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm gonna be bold.
Let me hear it.
I'm gonna be bold and say the DS is the worst one here.
Ooh.
And now I say that like ignoring the ones that I haven't played.
That's fair.
Because like I don't give a shit about the Atari Lynx, and I guess the Game Boy Color is worse, But like the Game Boy Color, you could also argue was just an extension of the regular Game Boy, whereas the DS is like an entirely new system. Like this is Nintendo's brand new fucking like handheld. It's 2 screens. It's a huge deal. It's more expensive than the home console even. And yet the biggest title they have to offer is a remake of a game that came out
less than 10
years
ago.
before.
Yeah. It was 8 years ago.
No, it's not great. It's quite bad, even.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that 64DS is a less than ideal version of Mario 64. Extra levels be damned. It is a 3D game that you control with the D-pad, and it's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Wario.
True.
You said the DS is the worst. What are the 3 that you like the most?
Game Boy for sure. The Vita, just because of the sheer variety of quality titles. And then I would probably say... God, I would say Switch 2 if
it weren't for the circumstances.
If it weren't okay, in a vacuum, I would say Switch 2. And if let's say I'm the evil version of me and I hate physical media.
Just
I
wear a
only
little
wanna buy
band with
digital
devil
video
ears.
games. Yeah. And I only buy digital games. I'm like, hell yeah, this is a strong launch lineup. But I don't know. I'm, dare I say, tempted to say the PSP.
I mean, the PSP's
one.
The PSP's good.
Yeah, it's got some good titles here. It's got Spider-Man. It's got Tony Hawk. It's got an Ape Escape.
Twisted Metal.
That's Twisted Metal. That's more than what a lot of these are launching. That's more than what a lot of these systems are launching with. So, I would say Game Boy, Vita, and PSP, which is not at all what I expected to say. But, yeah.
I'm gonna go and say I do have to give it to the Vita, just because it is both, for the most part, quality and quantity. There are some whatever titles in that lineup, but it's 25 plus games, and there's a lot of decent ones in there, and you also have several games that would help sell a system among them, including Uncharted, an entire Uncharted game launching with it. That's, knowing what Uncharted was to Sony at that time, that's kind of hard. That's pretty big. I gotta give it to that. The next highest one, I'm not gonna lie, if it was just the launch lineup, disregard the fact that the system itself is garbage, the N-Gage is really sticking out to me, guys. The titles that the N-Gage had are actually really interesting. If it didn't cost $300, I would love the N-Gage.
They tried.
They fucking tried.
They actually gave a shit when Jesus, I can't even speak. When cultivating a collection of launch titles for their phone system.
Phone system, yeah. It's pretty damn good. As far as just launch lineup.
They tried.
Launch lineup, though. And then the last one is kind of hard because the Game Boy is definitely one, and I would probably say that, but there is a part of me that same as Jack. I mean, I guess as an honorable mention, I would probably put Switch 2, asterisk. But I would have to say the Game Boy, just because it has Tetris and Mario Land.
Yeah.
That how am I supposed to compete with that? How am I supposed to compete with the handheld that had the killer app that made people want to buy handheld game consoles to begin with? I'm sorry, it's kind of a layup. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna lock that in. I'm gonna say Game Boy, Vita, and not Neo Geo, the N-Gage, with an asterisk honorable mention to the Switch 2 as far as the 3 that I like. And then the worst one, I'm gonna say it's kind of obvious that it's the Atari Lynx for launch lineups, games systems that had launch lineups. It's kind of hard to judge the systems that did not have their own dedicated launch lineup, but it's probably the Atari Lynx, because given the circumstances, at least the Game Boy Color had something. And that'd probably be the next lowest one. So yeah.
The Game Boy Color had Game & Watch Gallery 2.
Exactly. It had Game Watch Gallery 2. So, there's something.
Oh, rough.
How are you feeling, Landon?
I mean, we'll just get it out of the way. Game Boy Vita.
Game Boy and Vita.
There's not really any other choices for
the real winners here.
A top 1 and 2 spot. It's welcome to the club, Xbox original. You got 2 new friends with the thing that we all decided was passable.
Yep.
From this. The real question is, what do I choose for my third console? That's the real. What's the spice on my list?
What's the spice on your list? Yeah, the spice on my list was the N-Gage. What was the third pick that you said, Jack? You said PSP, which is good.
PSP.
I've never owned a PSP, by the way. Just has a good launch lineup.
I will say I am torn between. This may sound surprising. Game Boy Advance and Game Gear.
Game Gear.
Game Boy Advance has a pretty decent lineup, actually.
I'm kind of partial to the Game Gear's lineup myself.
Yeah, so they're like both of those systems have some decent titles. And the Game Boy Advance, I guess Super Mario Advance is the killer app, but
yeah, it's not as much of a killer app as Tetris and Uncharted Golden Abyss, but it's a good enough one.
It is. It's good. It's good enough. I mean, I guess technically Castlevania Circle of the Moon is the killer app.
Yeah.
Well,
just not a first party killer app.
I mean, did it get people to buy the Game Boy Advance?
I have no idea. I didn't buy it.
So
just the same reason I'm not putting the Switch 1 on that list. Its killer app didn't make me buy that. I didn't buy it until Splatoon 2 came out. Honestly, that was the killer app for me.
I mean, that was a fair killer app for you because that was the first game that was not also available on Wii U in some way that was worth getting.
Yeah. I think I will give the edge to the Game Gear just because I have, I know Columns, the Game Gear version of Columns is solid, and Dragon Crystal is fucking awesome. And then, Second World and Revenge, Wonder Boy, I'll just call it Wonder Boy.
Yeah, Wonder Boy.
Are both pretty solid as well. So, you've got a couple really good games, and there's a little bit of variety with the Game Gear.
Yep.
You got
your 2D platformer action games with Castle of Illusion, GG Shinobi. You had a puzzle game. You had some RPG. You had good variety. You had a racing game.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think if I remember right, G-Lock Air Battle is a shmup.
Probably. That sounds like a shmup. I can sense it. So yeah, what would you say is your least favorite? What do you think is a stinker?
Combat Flight Simulator arcade video game.
On the Game Gear. Interesting.
That's what G-Lock Air Battle is.
All right.
Yeah, whatever that means. My stinker... I could go Lynx. That's the easy
pick, yeah.
That's the easy pick. I could make my stinker the Game Boy Advance and be like, fucking had Earthworm Jim, fuck off. But that's rude. I felt very passionate about Jack's his his Nintendo DS rant, like that resonated with me. I'm gonna go Switch 2 is the stinker. Fuck it. Fuck you.
Sure.
Should have had Donkey Kong Bonanza. That would have fucking fixed your system.
All right, so that
Fuck.
is.
Fuck this smelly piece of garbage,
Fuck
I guess.
that. Best soundtrack of fucking 2025. I had to think about
Yeah.
the year. I'll give it that. Fucking best soundtrack of 2025. But otherwise, what a stinky, smelly.
I think it's funny that you went with Switch 2 and not Switch 1, the system that didn't even sell itself to you.
Hey. The Switch 1 had I Am Setsuna, a Chrono Trigger-esque RPG
Okay.
that I
Sure.
still haven't played. It had Just Dance 2017, the only console to have a Just Dance out of all the ones we talked about today.
Does not matter
it's
to
fine.
you. Does not
It's
matter to
fine.
me.
It's fine. It's the Switch.
It gets a pass on being the Switch, which,
Yeah.
yeah.
It had Shovel Knight. It had an updated version of Shovel Knight. It's like
True.
the launch lineup's fine. It is a little bit lacking, and the killer app was available on a system I played. So
All right. Do we want to go around real quick and talk about what we've been up to?
Oh,
If we're quick?
Yeah.
Good. Jen,
Yeah.
what you been up to? Persona 3
been-
Reload.
It's Persona 3 Reload. Yeah, I've been playing that a shitload still. Reload, not a shitload.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah. Let's see. What the fuck else? It's been kind of slow lately. I haven't really done a whole lot. Bethany and I went to Cedar Point about a week and a half ago. Spent the day there. We got tickets from my parents for Christmas, and we realized that they were going to expire at the beginning of September, so we wanted to use them soon. And
That's very fair.
we did, and it was we had a fun day. It was perfect weather, not too crowded. Only downside was that it closed earlier than we thought it did. We thought they were open till 10. They closed at 8, which kind of
Whoa.
sucked.
Fuck
But-
that.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of on us for not looking at the closing time before we went. It was just we didn't know.
yeah.
It's been a
What
fucking
else?
long time since I've been to a Cedar Point.
I love Cedar Point. Honestly,
Oh,
it was
man.
it was my first time going in like 7 years, so it was
When was,
It was-
the last
it
time
was a
I was
good
in
time.
Ohio?
long time, 20 years.
Over 20 years ago.
Damn. That's about it. Honestly, I haven't gone to any shows like at all in the past couple weeks. So, yeah.
All right.
Persona.
Yeah. Persona 3
Persona.
Speaking of Persona, I remember mentioning last time I had been playing Persona 4 Golden, and
Yeah.
last week I beat Persona 4 Golden. I must say,
Yeah.
out of the 3 major Persona titles that I played so far, which is Base 5, 4 Golden, and 3 Reload, I think as far as the whole package, 4 Golden is my new favorite. I will have to replay 5 Royal to see how I feel about that one, but I really love Golden. I just love the setting, the character interactions, the way that the story unravels. It might not be my favorite story on paper as like concept, but like the way it's executed is really, really good. So like I just love it. It's too good. And then I've been kind of floating around on games to play otherwise, because like I want to play Clair Obscure Expedition 33, but I don't want to play it just yet. So I've been playing Phantasy Star 2. I got through the first act of the game finally, so like the big turning point at the end of the first act. I've got through that, so I'm grinding and getting ready to go into the second act of the game. I've heard the second act's kind of the weakest of the 3, but we'll get through it. I've been enjoying it outside of the fact that I have to spend so much time grinding. Like, I'm just so glad that the version of it I'm playing is on the Sega Genesis Classics package, like not the NSO software, the actual game. So like I have fast forward and like save states, so like I don't have to worry about like any of the archaic bullshit that Phantasy Star has as far as like that stuff, I don't have to worry about it. Like I can speed through battles. I can save anywhere I want.
You can see why I stopped playing it on original hardware.
I can see why you stopped playing it on original hardware.
It's
All
a
hell ground
rough game. It is a rough game.
Yeah.
All hail ground map.
But
it is.
It's fun when you have
it's
quality
fun,
of life.
but it is.
You need quality of life. It needs a Sega
It needs
Ages
a
release.
Sega Ages version, honestly.
It does. Because the Sega Ages
Like-
release of Phantasy Star 1, awesome.
Sega, come a little closer. Phantasy Star 1, 2, 3, 4. Sega Ages version of all of them. Put that shit on a cartridge or a disc. I don't give a shit. Put it out there. I'd buy it. Cloud would buy it. There's
would
two
buy it.
sales.
There's two, exactly. You got
Yeah.
two whole sales.
Two whole sales.
And you could probably charge us $50-$60 and we would still buy it. That's $100.
I'd buy it for fucking $50.
So
It
like,
should be like a $40 or $30
Yeah.
thing, but I'd
but
buy it for
I would buy it for more if they wanted to price it a little bit more.
yeah. If they're like, this is $50, you get a cool manual.
You get the ground map.
You get the ground map from
Just give us the ground map.
from
That's all we're
Phantasy Star
asking.
2.
Exactly.
I don't need a ground map for all 4 games, just the one for Phantasy Star 2.
Just the one for
Yeah.
2 is fine.
That's the important one.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun though. And then I also decided to start going back to my Final Fantasy VII Remake file. It's fine. I like the character interactions a lot. Like the character interactions are great. The battle system is fun. I just, as I've said many times before, do not like that they stretched Midgar out into a 30-hour game. It's a lot of samey locations, even though Midgar has some different locations to it. It is all steampunk, industrial, like garbage slums for 30 hours, and it's a little annoying. Like I was going up the plate in Sector 7. That segment is very quick in the original. They drew that shit out so much. Like I was like halfway up the pillar and I was like, how much more of this do I have to do? Because like they drew it out way too much because they wanted it to be a whole game. And like if it weren't for everything else that I like about the game and the fact that I want to play Rebirth, I would probably not want to finish Remake. But it's good enough, and it's got a follow-up that I'm excited enough for that I'm gonna get through it. But that's basically been it. Allison and I went to our local Barnes & Noble recently, and I guess they started releasing new omnibuses of a classic manga that you may or may not have heard of called Rosen Maiden. So she got the first
oh my
two.
fucking god!
She got
Rosen.
she got the first two omnibuses of that because apparently that's a thing now. So yeah.
God, me and Bethany tried watching like the first few episodes of the dub for Rosen Maiden, which, by the way, the main doll character has the exact same fucking voice as Yuki Cross from Vampire Knight, and it's dog shit.
Oh god.
It's like it's honestly not bad. Vampire Knight is dog shit, but
Vampire Knight's
like
dog
it's
shit.
it's just kind of we couldn't get into it. It was kind of boring, as goofy as the dub was.
Yeah.
But it was just like hearing the exact same like main character again.
Yeah, so that's pretty much everything new on my end so far. I got that, and then I'm gonna be finally steering away from Final Fantasy games coming up on Twitch. So that's gonna be really fun to see what I play. So yeah.
You mean there's other video games besides Square Enix RPGs?
I got 4 months left of the year. One of those months has already been claimed by a game that we will be playing, so I'm excited to see what the other 3 months take. We'll see. But they're not going to be Square Enix RPGs.
That's rough, because
That's all we
I
play
thought-
lately.
that's all we play. That's all we know. That's all I know, at least. That's all I will know for a while.
For a while with Dragon Quest. Yeah.
You missed one thing. You went and beat fucking Neptunia Mark
I
II,
did.
or whatever. Not Mark II.
Yeah.
V2.
So, yeah. Mega Dimension Neptunia V2 is the name of it, even though it's like put as like 7, like VII, because
Yeah.
it was the 7th Neptunia game. It's funny because like I started playing it back when it came out in 2016 as one of the couple of games I got when I got a PS4, and then I didn't play it after. Like I got to a certain point, didn't play it again until like 2022, 2023. Played it a little bit again, dropped it again, and I played it some more, and I was kind of speeding through it just because I wanted to like get towards the end. And then I picked it up one night, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna see how far I can get into this game. And then I beat it that night. Granted, I did not get the good ending, and the Neptunia games are known for having a little something extra for the good ending, but I like looked it up afterwards to see like what that ending was, and it was not worth it. So I beat the game, and I already did what I wanted. So
there you go.
Yeah. Definitely my least favorite of the 3 Neptunia games that I played so far. I like mechanically, it's better than Mark II, but the story being split into 3, I did not care for. It was a good excuse to give us a ton of characters that are all fun, but other than that, I did not give a shit. So that was, yeah.
Damn.
But it's fun enough that I want to play the remake that they put on PS5 of like the first game called Reverse.
Rebirth.
Reverse. There's
Rebirth.
Rebirth. Yeah, there's Rebirth trilogy, and then there's Reverse, which is another remake of Rebirth 1, which is a remake of the first game. It's really good. Yeah, no, I get it. Thank you for reminding me, but that is the last thing that is new with me that I want to talk about.
Yeah. Anyway, Pokemon Scarlet.
You've been playing it, and I'm actually really happy that you've been playing it.
I finished off, like, literally before this podcast. I finished off the 3 main story paths, Victory Road, Starfall Street, and Path of Legends, and so all of those are done. I walked into Area 0, and then I was like, okay, this might be it. We'll see what happens tonight, because boy, oh boy, Kirby's tomorrow, baby, and that's
Yep.
all I'm going to be playing. Now, to be fair, I have spoilers for Kirby Starcross World. I've read through reviews that it is 12 new levels. That is what Starcross World content will add, is 12 levels. But I've also heard they are very, very good levels. So
good.
We'll see how long it takes me. If it doesn't take me that long to clear through the Starcross levels, because I'm not going to do a full playthrough of Kirby. I don't need to. I just it was a very recent release, and I still very, very much remember Forgotten Land. That all I really want to do is play the new levels.
Yeah, me too.
Plus, Trails in the Sky First Chapter is coming out in less than a month now, and that is what I am
That is your top priority game for the holiday season.
That is my top priority game for the rest of 2025. But Kirby is number 2 or 3. It's between Kirby and Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake. So, yeah, depending on how long Kirby takes me, I might jump back to Pokemon Scarlet to finish up the main story. Because it seems like the Area 0 stuff is not a ton.
It's not. It's probably about the same length of time as the 3 and I'd probably say about the same length of time as it takes to do the end of the Victory Road thing. And then maybe a little more than that, but it's not.
And by end of Victory Road, do you just mean the Elite
Four, the champ, and then the extra fights after?
Yeah, the 2 extra fights.
It depends on how fast you bolt through the area, but because there is some story segments, but you can make a beeline to each destination, so it's not super long.
I did catch almost and catch and evolve almost every new Pokemon. There is 2 that I was not able to get from the base game that are not legendary, not Paradox, obviously, because I just got to Area 0. And then there's 1 version exclusive I don't have access to because of the item is like locked to violet.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're
Um,
talking about.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I probably would have used the violet evolution.
It's pretty sick.
I think it's like I thought it was like way cooler than what's in Scarlet, which is unfortunate.
They're both really cool too. But
Yeah,
like Ghost Night, Fire Night, like that's really hard.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, that's awesome. Just knowing that exists makes me not want to use this Pokemon. And I was using a ton of Pokemon. I was talking about it on the Discord, and I like was using like anywhere between like 10 to 16 Pokemon at any given time. Like I was switching between. The very end, like I had 11 Pokemon I had trained up to level 50. And these were all just new Pokemon or like Pokemon with like new evolutions. So it wasn't like I wasn't using a bunch of like Gen 1 Pokemon for the fuck of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have thoughts of Pokemon Scarlet. I will say I am glad I waited until the game was mostly playable to play it.
Mostly playable.
True.
It
He's
there's
encountering a bunch of strange visual bugs, so
and I mean I'm running into more visual bugs than I run into normally with third party open world games, or not third party but like AAA open world games. I've been known to like run into and record a lot of that stuff as I run into it. And I knew I was gonna run into a bunch of stuff with Pokemon Scarlet because like there's only so much you can fix. They fixed the frame rate for the most part, and I haven't really run into many like huge dips, which is all I like really did not want to deal with. That was like the biggest bummer when I started playing Scarlet when it launched.
I think one thing you're going to be very lucky about is that like Scarlet and Violet launch performed like at complete garbage.
Yes.
When they were updated over time to be bad. Not garbage, but also still not good, so bad. But they never fully updated the DLC areas to run better. So those run worse than the updated base game. So they were.
Is that
really funny?
Is that even what the Switch 2 fixes?
No, the Switch 2 fixes all of that. So you don't worry. You don't have to deal with any of that shit on the Switch 2.
Okay.
So that is why you are really lucky, because you have a version of the game that has that ad already in it. So you don't have to like buy it separately, because you wouldn't want to do that anyway. But when you decide to eventually, like if you one day decide to go play the DLC, like it is going to play the same way that the actual game does on the Switch 2. That is not the case on the Switch 1. Dear God.
I am sorry for anyone who has played this video game. Not on a Switch 2 console. I feel sorry for both of you.
Yeah, it was like I
played it on launch night too. Like I actually played Pokemon Scarlet. This is the same save file that I had from that launch night. And like I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go play something else because this is rough.
Yeah.
And maybe one day. And we got to that one day.
Yeah, we finally got to that one day. It's
I can report,
rough, but it's playable.
If you go back and play it, the game is playable.
Let's put it this way: you're enjoying it more than Pokemon X and Y, I take it.
Yeah, I would still say Pokemon X and Y are definitely like the bottom rung of Pokemon like main series games, in my opinion.
Spoiler alert for an upcoming podcast.
Spoiler alert for
and
a couple podcasts from now.
Yeah.
But that's also not very much of a spoiler if you know me, and if you've known me since, well,
now you
Pokemon X and Y have come out.
You said that you're one of the more like minority, and Jack, you're kind of in the same boat where like you didn't care for Pokemon Legends Arceus all that much just because of like how it like functioned with like its like just its like gameplay and everything. Would you say you enjoy Scarlet and Violet more than that, or about the same? Or?
I would say I enjoyed Scarlet and Violet more than Legends Arceus, but I think Legends Arceus is a more well put together game.
Yeah.
I also agree with that. I definitely like.
It's definitely a lot more polished. I'll say that
it is a way more functional game than Pokemon Scarlet.
I can probably surmise that you still like Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl the most out of the Switch titles.
I do,
which a lot of people would heavily disagree with you. I respect your decision though, and I can't fault you for it.
I don't give a fuck about those people.
It's I can tell just your genuine thoughts. Like that would be how you feel, and that's perfectly fine, valid.
Yeah.
How would you measure it up to the other two I didn't mention, the Let's Go games and Sword and Shield?
I'm also funny because I don't hate Let's Go. Because I think when that came out, I was like, oh, this is like almost the most fun I've had with a Pokemon game in a while. Mostly like looking back at like Pokemon X and Y, because I enjoyed Sun and Moon. Like those games are a lot of fun. So like Let's Go, I was like, but that one was like a quick, easy breezy game, and I mean easy breezy game.
Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl.
It really is. So like, I was working on a tier list for this, and let me see where I put. I definitely like I believe, and I know Jack had mentioned this, Scarlet and Violet over Sword and Shield, and I think I've come to the same agreement that I would put this game there. I ranked, I put it, here's my ranking for the Switch releases. Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Sword and Shield, Let's Go, and then Arceus was my least favorite. And we can also go into a fuller discussion on that, why. And I'll probably end up revisiting that to like really cement that. That might not be true. I just have a huge issue with the gameplay loop in that game. It just like kills the momentum I want to have. I would probably put Scarlet and Violet between the Gen 4 remakes and Sword and Shield.
Okay.
That's probably where I'd put it.
Anything else new besides Pokemon Scarlet? Did you beat DK Bonanza between this last podcast and the previous one?
I thought I beat it at the before the. I think
right before?
Okay. The day
I was gonna.
What, Jack?
I was gonna say I thought I remember you saying that you beat it before the last podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I think
you talked about it last time.
At that podcast, I had mentioned I beat it that day. So yeah, I did not go back and do any of the post game, and I don't know if I'll have time to do that anytime soon. But the only other thing is I put 20 minutes into Trails of the Sky first chapter prologue demo. And
you're on
I will
vacation, huh? Too.
Vacation? Define vacation. Yeah, put some very large
big
quotes
quotation marks. Big.
I'm doing parent bonding.
You're on a break from work.
You're on a break from work
to do parental work.
I am not going to my job. I am doing parental bonding right now, and I have I get 12 weeks of that, and I can't wait to go back. So much screaming and yelling. Oh my god. I love them. It's a lot of screaming and yelling.
I was gonna say, have they broken any like milestones for newborns in the time that you've been staying home yet, or are you still kind of waiting that out?
It's only been a week and a half since I started my parental bonding, so like No, we've been doing like Felicity's about to break a third tooth. Like she's been teething really hard the last couple days, and like Linnea's not too far behind. Linnea's also like super close to crawling. Like so that's been like the biggest struggle, where she gets really frustrated because she's like
she wants
really
to crawl,
close
but
to
she
crawling.
can't. Yeah, like she wants to crawl, but she can't do it yet.
And so, like, we've been working on that a lot. So, like, yeah, we're, like, working towards some pretty major milestones.
Oh, boy.
But, it's like, not quite yet. Yeah. It's been mostly fine. But, yeah, that's sort of where we're at, is, like, it's a lot of work. Hey, don't have two at once. That's all I'm gonna say. You can have as many children as you want. I think having more than two is insane.
But don't have them that many at once.
Don't have more than one at once. That's my advice. We had one of our Twitch viewers in Jack's stream yesterday was like, "I'm gonna be an aunt to twins," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah. So that should do it. We talked quite a bit about all of these crazy handheld systems and how weird they are about everything. And we got to catch up on a lot of stuff, and I think that's everything, right? So we'll sign off and see you next time. Okay. Did you have something to say?
No. I was just going to say bye.
Are you going to say the line, though?
Roll the outro.
Roll the outro. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye. No, seriously, just roll the outro. Just go.
Already did.
Has it rolled yet?
Now it has. Thank you for listening to the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast. If you enjoyed us, consider subscribing to our podcast RSS feed, or follow us on youtube.com/GamingStooges and twitch.tv/GamingStooges for more gaming content. If you'd like to chat with us, join our Discord. The link can be found in the episode description. We also want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Your continued support means a lot to us. Not already one? Please take a look at what we have to offer anyone who becomes a patron at patreon.com/GamingStooges. See you next time!